Talk Trap Music and Trap Possibilities with Madam CJ. Right here on Untouched Radio, reality radio, where everyone is a star. And if you haven't already, text a friend, www.in-touchnews.com. Again, it's www.intouchnews.com. And make sure y'all get your phones ready. Make sure y'all call in 813-444-9588. Again, it's 813-444-9588. Welcome back to the Trap, y'all. I missed you guys. It's been a long 7 days. But we are back here. Last week we had an amazing show with Miss Denise and April Cobb talking about the school to prison pipeline. I think that was one of our best shows in a while. We had a lot of good feedback about it. We gave a lot of information. And this show is going to be very informational as well. Before I get into what I learned in the trap this week, I want to introduce one of my beautiful guests, Yesha, from the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. So, Yesha, say hey to the people.
Hi.
So she's going to be here letting us know about, once again, another very informative topic. This is Sexual Abuse Awareness Month. So after I get done telling you guys about what I learned in the trap this week, Yesha is a professional in helping victims as sexual assault victims. So we're going to jump back into that. But I got to tell y'all what I learned in the trap this week. Oh, Lord. We got a guilty verdict. We just going to jump right into that. It's funny because last week, y'all, Anna, when the verdict came out, I think I seen Anna on camera. She said, you talk about that? You talk about that on the show? Absolutely, I have to. We got a guilty verdict. Okay? Honestly, y'all, I was nervous because, me and Anna said a couple weeks ago it was going to be a hot riot summer. And so he was found guilty. The ex-cop was found guilty on the 3 charges, basically murdering George Floyd, right? It was 2 second-degree murder charges and 1 third-degree murder charge. Second-degree, third-degree, and manslaughter. I thought that manslaughter one was a second-degree manslaughter, but okay, a second-degree manslaughter. So, I'm very happy with the verdict. I'm very happy with the verdict because it is about time that we as people, we as black people, we as minorities, we as people get to publicly see someone pay for the injustice towards another human being. It is too much, y'all. We've been seeing too many people get killed on camera by law enforcement, and no one has really had to pay for it. You understand what I'm saying? Whether it's somebody that want to play like they're the cops, like George Zimmerman, or I don't know what the man and his son name was, and when they shot the man that was running, Aubrey, yes, I'm sorry, Aubrey. There's been too many times. So, and this is the thing. I don't think anybody should just be an scapegoat. People say that, they just set an example with him. No, justice should be served. Justice was served in that case. There were so many people around when George Floyd was murdered. It was so many people, black, white, Spanish, whatever, literally at the scene asking this cop to take his knee off of this man's neck, and he refused. So it wasn't, And what I did see with George Floyd, and what I believe is, no, I don't want any family to lose any family members. But I do believe in sacrifices. And I do believe that God chose certain people in this world and in this life to be sacrifices, right? I said the same thing about Trayvon. Trayvon Martin changed our world, right? And it was so unfortunate that that mother and that father had to lose their child, but he was literally chosen by God to be the face of that movement, and a peaceful movement, right? George Floyd was chosen by God the crazy part is he's not even here to understand the magnitude of who he is. Like, his face is on murals all over the world because of what we saw, the injustice that happened towards him. So George Floyd, in a such unfortunate situation, he has brought people together, and we've been able to see some sort of justice out of this. So I am very happy with the outcome and the guilty verdict. Like I said, I don't believe no one should be an example. I believe justice should be served. If somebody did wrong, they need to pay for it, and that's what it is, right? And the cop knew he shouldn't have did all that. There are so many ways that you can apprehend someone. The man was already on the floor with his hands behind his back. Like, how much more can we do, right? It's almost like overkill. And at the end of the day, we are all human beings. We come from different places. We have different backgrounds. We have different cultures. We love our individual cultures. But at the end of the day, we are human beings. I guarantee you, you go around and you abuse a dog. Somebody gonna be calling you, right? Baby, you can't even wear fur. Is it Peter? Peter or Peter? They don't. Everybody deserves some level of respect and humanity, and so that's what George Floyd deserved, and he did not get that. So I'm very, very pleased with the verdict. I hope that there's other situations that come out of this, and I really hope that we don't have to see this no more. It's unfortunate that on the same day we seen a 15-year-old girl get killed by the cops. So now we have to deal with something else. But I hope one day soon that we can stop seeing people getting murdered on TV, on our phones, and I hope that we can. I hope the trend stops of people that are in law enforcement having to take such extreme measures for minimal situations. That is the best way I can say that. I hope we don't see that trend too much longer, right? So that is what I learned in the trap this week. It's a lot, but I do feel like a breath of fresh air. You know, I hope we don't have to riot this weekend. I mean, not this weekend, this summer, but with so many deaths and so much injustice that we've had to see, I'm not necessarily opposed if we gotta protest. But the interesting part is, I don't know if the state of Florida, if you guys realize that the governor signed a bill into law that if you protest to a certain capacity, it is a felony degree. Look that up, right? He literally took away our First Amendment, right? So, and the unfortunate part is, as Yesha is going to be talking about, he was saying protest altogether, right? So, like I said before, Yesha is a part of the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, and they are advocates for sexual assault victims. So, even with that law, if we want to protest against sexual assault, we can go to jail. That's crazy, y'all. We got to get him out of office, okay? That's a whole nother thing. What I want to leave y'all with this week is, baby, when it's time to vote for the governor, don't vote him in. Please get DeSantis out of here. You know, y'all know DeSantis feel like we can't get COVID. You know, he feel like we can't get COVID. He feel like we can't protest, you know, whatever. Let's get DeSantis out of office. So that's what I learned in the trap this week, y'all. Let's try to change the narrative. And Yesha, tell me who you are. I'm so happy that you're here, y'all. Give it up for Yesha from the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. She's going to be here letting us know who are you? What do you do?
Mm-hmm. So thank you for the introduction. My name is Yesha again. I'm a sexual assault victim advocate with the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. And part of my role as advocate is one small part of our larger crisis center. Are you hearing me okay? Okay. Can you hear me all right?
That's perfect.
Okay.
That's perfect.
So yes, I am a sexual assault victim advocate with the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. Part of our role is just to offer a first point of contact or second point of contact with victims of sexual assault to sort of take them through healing, through their journey of healing and restoration to safety following a sexual assault.
So what is a sexual assault? Let's go elementary. What is a sexual assault?
So I wish I had the Florida statutes in front of me, but under the Florida law, it's sexual battery, right? It's any
So if I touch your arm, is that sexual assault?
No, it's non-consensual penetration with either, I think the state of Florida specifies it can be vaginal or anal.
Wow.
It's specific language. Yes, I'm sorry to get graphic, but vaginal or anal penetration with and it's non-consensual. I think that's the main. That's
sexual battery.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow. So those victims, how are they able to get in? Like, I mean, do you guys find people? How are they able to get in contact with you guys? Walk me through the process.
So it's a couple of different avenues, right? So someone, maybe they've been recently assaulted, and they think the first thing to do after a sexual assault is that they call 911, they call law enforcement. And then from there, law enforcement takes their statement, and then they start working with us for a sexual assault forensic examination if the assault took place within 120 hours. So if that isn't the case, right, they just report it to law enforcement. They call our mainline number, or they call 211 if it's after like business hours. Maybe it's 2 a.m. and it's happened. They call 211, which is our 24-hour hotline. Otherwise, sometimes people just don't know what to do after they've been violated that way, right? So maybe they've suffered some sort of injury. They go to maybe the hospital, and from there the hospital calls us. But really, you don't have to work with either the hospital or 211 or law enforcement to receive our services. You can call our mainline number, and we usually pick up from 8 to 6.
So is there any way that I'm pretty sure, how long have you been doing this?
In some capacity for 3 years.
Wow. And what made you choose this line of work?
Well, I guess it's very obvious, right? Like, as a woman, right, I feel compelled to advocate for women. And I think about my own status as, like, a young woman, also a woman of color, right? I know that depending on class, race, socioeconomic status, gender identity, that sort of victimizations look different for different women and gender minorities.
They may or may not even pay attention to you, right? So my question is, could I come to you anonymously? Is that an option? Like, is that...
Well, I mean, you can work with us anonymously. Usually we like to refer to clients by name, have their name, have at least like some sort of documentation that they've worked with us. So in case you need to work with us again in the future.
Which you hope not.
Right?
you hope not, right? So I heard that you said forensic exams. So you guys would administer the forensic exams?
Right. So for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, we do administer sexual assault forensic examinations.
Wow.
And it's a specific process conducted by a specific sexual assault nurse examiner.
Okay.
And this is someone who's trained to do these exams, right? Like, you can't get a sexual assault forensic examination at like a hospital or something, at an emergency room. It has to be performed by a specific person.
Wow, because they're looking for certain things.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? We have people in the office, normal business hours. But if you call 211 and you've been assaulted within the last like 2 hours, right, we can pull you in for an exam like within the hour.
Wow. Okay, and so you guys do, when you say advocacy, what does that look like?
Right. So after that assault happens, right, you think about like the perspective, like the medical perspective, the one that the nurse has, and it's to get as much DNA evidence off of your body as possible given the maybe time constraints, right? Because DNA only lives on your body for 120 hours. So we want to get you in as soon as possible to get all of that evidence collected. But maybe you haven't worked with law enforcement, right? Maybe you're not sure if you want to report. So we have that conversation with clients in ongoing advocacy. We discuss like maybe some of their hangups with reporting to law enforcement, and if they feel like that's something they don't want to undertake on their own, we can work with them.
So what could be a hang-up?
I mean, maybe it's we know how power works, right?
Okay.
So like maybe the person they're like who's assaulted them has a lot of power, wealth, authority. I mean, that's maybe one hang up for reporting to law enforcement. But that's not the only way to secure your feelings of physical and emotional safety. So we can discuss like maybe softer options. Maybe if not going through the criminal justice route, we can discuss a civil injunction or a restraining order against their assailant. We can get them paired up with legal referrals. We can give them referrals to trauma counseling. We can help them file through aid through the state called crime victims compensation. And I guess the main part of like the main thing that I enjoy about my job is just being able to like listen to someone, listen to them, acknowledge their humanity, acknowledge that what they've been through is a traumatic event, and to sort of dispel any myths that they might, or hang-ups they might be having about their own experience.
So, I mean, and I heard you say that counseling. So so the crisis center will actually provide counseling for the victims that come their way.
Yeah.
Is it a time period? Can they, is it always an open door? Do you have people that you guys work with?
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, at the crisis center, we're very trauma informed about our care. We understand that maybe immediately after an assault happens, maybe people don't even register that what happened to them is assault, right? Right. Maybe they consented for some part of an encounter with someone and a different part they didn't, and they don't realize that's assault, right? So
when we come back, I want to get into that, because I think that is a very interesting point that you made, and even stuff that we hear and we see. And like you said, they may have us agree to one part and then not the other. So they're kind of, as a woman or even as a victim, right? Because it'd be a man too, like, can I even do something about this? Like, I don't know. Thank God I've never been into that type of situation. So I would not. I don't even know what that feels like, nor do I want to know, right? And I'm very sensitive to that, and not judgmental to anybody, but I can only imagine. So when we come back, I want to talk about how someone could understand the difference, and then I also want to talk about what type of heart it takes to actually be an advocate for someone going through that. and what you go through. So we'll be back on Trap Talk Radio, y'all. We'll be back with Yesha. Right back. 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 Yesha. Right back.
So believe me, 100 down, 813-248-6300. Everything gon' be okay, call Ricky, he coming. He taking kids, state of Florida, grab up in the sundown. 184-361 Rick. That's 184-361-425. Never word from the point forward, just recline. Just ask Ricky, push your boy statewide. Just in case you missed it, I'ma tell you one more time. 184-361 Rick. Call Ricky, ask Ricky. Medical referral service. The doctors and lawyers on our network are trained in handling auto injury claims and getting you the best medical treatment and recovery. Dial 1-844-361-RICK. That's 1-844-361-7425. Ricky. Ask Ricky.
Y'all, it's Trap Talk Radio. Trap Talk, trap music, and trap possibilities with Madam CJ. Right here on In Touch Radio, reality radio, where everyone is a star. That sounds so good. And I just cannot wait. Miss Tammy, Mr. Dale, go ahead and just make me a little, everyone is a star. Maybe make that the little background. Okay, we are here in Touch Radio, where everyone is a star. I have Yesha from the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay. Y'all, sorry that I'm pausing, but I want to make sure that I'm getting it right. I've had to say Yesha name like 30 times walking into the, I'm like, Yesha. Y'all know I mess up a lot of words, but I ain't trying to mess up nobody's names. I am so sorry, Yesha. I'm sorry. So she's been educating us, and we just got back. I told you guys what I learned in the trap this week. We had to talk about the George Floyd murder trial, and we got a guilty verdict. I'm tired of seeing these people down camera. But Yesha's from the Crisis Center, and this is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So this month, the month of April, we need to know about sexual assault victims. And one thing that she got into is sometimes we don't even know we've been assaulted. I think that is very interesting. So break that down. Like, how would we know if we've been assaulted by someone?
Mm-hmm. I think, yes, that is a really good question, because, I mean, a lot of times you think about the statistics more generally, right? And I think it's like 2/3 of all sexual assaults are perpetrated by someone the victim knows. So, I mean, maybe it is just like, maybe it is their partner, or maybe it is their friend, right? And maybe, well, one thing, maybe they don't know that, like, a sexual assault has even taken place if, like, they weren't conscious for some of it, right? What if they were, like, drunk? They maybe don't remember it, right? But there's also, like, if they were coerced, right? They were still violated. And coercion means if they were, like, manipulated into saying yes. Maybe they were locked alone in a room with someone and forced to perform one or the other sexual act on them.
Okay, so this makes me go back to college, because, okay, so I went to USF. And there was a thing that came out, I want to say a year or two ago, and there was a list of sexual. Yeah. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
you can finish though.
Yeah, so it was like a list of people. Like, it was a list of women came together and made this list of guys that sexually assaulted them. Right? It was people on there that I knew, and I was just like, nah, they ain't sexually assaulted this person, right? Like, they wouldn't have did that. But they may have, right? So it just really, I thought that was very interesting. And then when you think about, like, it was a couple people actually, the list was mostly anonymous. Mm-hmm. But some people actually did come out and they said, they told their story. But like you were saying, if you were locked in a room, if you were, like, that's what some of the situations were, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, how do you help a victim understand that they've been a victim?
I think it's just drawing it back to the victim's experience, right? Like, part of my role as an advocate is to encourage the victim to understand themselves as their own site of knowledge, right? So they know their body. If they can't fall asleep until like 2 or 3 in the morning after having that sexual encounter with someone, and they feel violated because of that, they have all of these traumatic flashbacks, or maybe they started to do more impulsive things because of that. It's reflecting sort of their own experiences and pointing out, hey, this isn't normal, right? Like, these are all trauma responses. And I think it's important too that, like, not every instance of like sexual battery, right? I don't think a victim in that situation like necessarily wants to like see their assailant behind bars, right? Like, if it's someone that they know, right? So something like that list, maybe it is for, in some ways, like it takes away the victim's agency in holding their assailant accountable, just having an anonymous list out there.
Right.
So it's really just empowering the individual person to critically reflect on their experiences, what their bodily responses, their like mental or emotional, psychological responses are to an assault.
So to get clarity, and I hope you can answer this. So let's say hypothetically you're at a pool party, right? You're at a pool party, and I'm a woman, and a guy comes by and slaps you on the butt. What is that?
So it's harassment, yes. And that is, I think, we have like this little pyramid called a rape culture pyramid, right? So maybe it isn't the top of the rape culture pyramid where it is like sexual assault, sexual battery under like the Florida statutes, but it still contributes to a normalization of that sort of behavior.
And I think the reason I ask that is because, to your point that you just made, we normalize some of this behavior, and then I think that makes it identifying that you may have been a victim, and or that you are a what's the other person?
Assailant.
A what?
Assailant.
Assailant. Yeah. Okay. So because we normalize those little things, you may not even know that you are an assailant or a victim, right? And I think having these conversations and being able to identify, like, yeah, it might have just been a pat on the butt, but if that girl ain't want that to happen, don't do that. Don't. Why you felt like it was okay for you to touch her that way?
Yeah.
Or even girls, you know what I'm saying? Because, women grabbing on men inappropriately, like, and I think it's very important for us to be able to know and identify when these situations happen, right? So how do you, it takes a lot, because I always tell people that I can do a lot of things. I feel like God has given me the gift, like God created a gift and he just gave it to me from his own heart, right? But there's some things I can't do. And I'm very, like, I'm very empathetic. So if someone losing someone, like, I literally feel like I feel their pain. I can't go to funerals like that, because I'd be like, I literally feel the pain. So it takes a certain type of heart to be able to stand next to and go through, because from what you explained to me, and when we discussed outside, you're basically holding these victims' hand. How did you know that you could handle this?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? I think the main thing that I remember, and it's a part of our, like, pretty much, like, the first trainings that we come into when we're, like, onboarded as in, like, someone who works at the crisis center, is that there's a difference, I think, between empathy and compassion. And empathy is where you share someone's feelings, right? Like, you feel on their behalf. Maybe you don't relate to them, right? But you feel what they're feeling. Whereas compassion, there's a sort of like distance. There's a boundary there where you acknowledge that what they're feeling is very painful. You identify that for them. Maybe they don't realize, maybe they're very angry that something has happened to them, but you reflect it as pain. You let them know that what they're experiencing is pain. But there's a difference between who I am as like a person and who, like, the person I'm working with is. Like, someone who's been victimized. I haven't been victimized, right? And I think to honor that other person's experience, I take care to acknowledge that regularly.
That's big, though, because a lot of people, that the fact that you're able to say, listen, I haven't been through that. You know what I'm saying? And your feelings are valid. A lot of people don't get that. Yesha, a lot of people, and I'm telling you, like, a lot of people don't especially for you to be an advocate, for you to work in the industry and understand, like, I don't really know what you're feeling, but how you feeling is valid. A lot of people don't feel like their feelings are valid because they don't necessarily have the platform to do that, right? So what is like a with some of the, could you, without giving any like specific information, what do you feel like was like a success story for one of the victims that you work with? Like, what does that look like?
Honestly, I think to me the most like most obvious success is when I'm like working with a client when they've come in for a sexual assault forensic examination. I'm not the one performing the exam. I'm just there for like emotional support. But it is one of the most like life affirming experiences to see someone who is maybe very visibly distressed, maybe they're crying, maybe they're shaking right at the start of the exam, to within the span of a few short hours, you see them talking clearer, you see them level-headed, you see them like affirming how strong they are, how supported and loved they are. Just being able to like sit and watch that happen, maybe facilitate that a little bit, play a little bit of a hand in seeing that transformation. I think that's just one of like the biggest experiences.
Do you guys, after that exam is over, can people come back and continue counseling sessions, or is it just like a one-stop shop?
So I'm a victim advocate, right? Like,
Okay.
I'm not like a counselor, but we can make referrals to trauma counselors. And I think with part of our ongoing advocacy piece is if someone wanted to talk about the sexual assault just from like an informational type perspective or an emotional perspective too, not in a therapy setting, I'm able to have those conversations in the weeks after a sexual assault. I think it's also you're pointing something out to me right now, which is that it's also very affirming to have those conversations every week.
For sure.
And just see someone's transformation. Like it is one of the most like amazing experiences to just hear someone be like, I'm actually okay now. I don't think you need to reach out to me anymore.
Wow. So do you guys do like community visits? Are they just coming to the office? I mean, it's different now because COVID, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, most of our ongoing advocacy happens over the phone, unless they need to fill out some stuff in person. I don't really see people in person, but over the phone, you'd be surprised the kind of like conversations we can have.
I can imagine. I mean, especially if they feel comfortable with you, you know. So, I see here that you guys gave me some information here. So I said suicide prevention. So do you have a lot of victims that have to go through that motion after they've been assaulted of like trying to figure out, do I even want to be here, or?
Yeah. I mean, I think like sometimes sometimes sexual violence is only one of multiple traumatic events someone has like experienced in their lifetime, right? Maybe they've experienced other forms of maybe domestic violence or maybe just like structural violence, right? Like maybe the traumas of like poverty and like joblessness or homelessness. So I think too that like suicidal ideation, maybe it comes up like it's come up for them historically, and they know after a sexual assault has taken place that maybe thoughts of suicide, if they're not happening at the time of the exam, maybe they'll happen in a few days. At that point in time, we can have that honest conversation as an advocate and like as a victim. We can have that honest conversation. And then from there, I can refer them out to prevention care coordination, which is our ongoing like suicide specific, that's what they're called, suicide prevention care coordinators, have conversations specific to the topic of suicide. But it doesn't need to be like someone who's experienced a sexual assault, right? They can call 211, and if they're interested in that like ongoing support, 211, which is our general information and crisis hotline, they can refer people to prevention care coordination.
So this is sexual assault. So is there anything, sexual assault awareness month, is there anything that you guys are doing to try to get people aware about what's going on?
Yes, we have a lot of campaigns, so I'm going to run through them in my mind. We have a Denim Day campaign coming up, which is, I guess I would encourage people to Google it more because I can't do a service to that. But it's basically a reference to a very famous case in the Italian criminal justice system related to sexual violence. So we have Denim Day. We also have at the Crisis Center, advocates are working to create survivor love letters for incarcerated survivors of sexual violence. And we also have a sort of arts event for Sexual Assault Awareness Month too, where survivors of sexual violence are encouraged to submit art for display on our webpage.
Wow. So, we got to get into that, the incarcerated sexual assault, because I would want to know how that even how would that even come about. So we'll be back. I don't want you to get into that just yet. That's gonna be good. So we'll be back, y'all, right here on Trap Talk Radio.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan.
Separated.
We were able to get in touch with each other
and had
in
no
time.
idea how to find each other.
The whole experience
was the most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm
Don't
and
ignore
keep to the
this
plan.
message.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Thinking Politics? Tampa Bay Politics is on every Wednesday at 11 a.m. with Angela Birdsong. Tune in right here on In Touch Radio. Thinking Politics? Tampa Bay Politics is on every Wednesday at 11 a.m. with Angela Birdsong. Tune in right here on In Touch Radio. Thinking Politics? Tampa Bay Politics is on every Wednesday at 11 a.m. with Angela Birdsong. Tune in right here on In Touch Radio. Thinking Politics? Tampa Bay Politics is on every Wednesday at 11 a.m. with Angela Birdsong. Tune in right here.
Hey y'all, it's Trap Talk Radio. Trap Talk, Trap Music, and Trap Possibilities with Madam CJ right here on In Touch Radio, reality radio where everyone is a star. And I have Yesha here with me right here from the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay, and she's letting us know about Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Oh, we got a call? We got a caller? Remember, y'all calling 813-444-9588. Again, it's 813-444-9588. And whoever just called in, call back. I'm sorry we missed you. Call back. Let us know. So, Yesha, you were telling me that you guys have a campaign going on where where your victims are writing letters to incarcerated victims. And so, how would you guys know if they were victims before? How does that work? How do you guys even get the partnership with the jail and so forth?
So yeah, it is a little bit tricky post-COVID because, well, for one thing, just generally we don't see a lot of clients who are housed in jails, right? So we usually work with people who are not incarcerated, but there is a point of contact at the jail, and it's called the chaplain.
Right.
So the chaplain, that's the person at the jail who's most likely to hear from the victims themselves, that they have experienced victimization. And I know you said last week you discussed the school to prison pipeline, right? Mm-hmm. So there's also this thing called the sexual abuse to prison pipeline, right, for young girls, but also thinking about women who are in prisons and jails right now. A lot of the vast majority of women housed in prisons and jails have experienced some form of sexual violence or domestic violence themselves in their youth or even thereafter. So we just operate under the assumption that if no one has come forward, maybe at the time of us writing that letter of support to them, that maybe someone will in the next couple of months, and that's where we can show our support through those love letters.
I think it's good that you guys are aware of those connections. Mm-hmm. Right? And then being able to have those relationships and connections with people like the chaplain, because I'm pretty sure every jail or prison has some type of chaplain, some type of resource that's going to be supportive for the people that are in there. My question to you is, how does that work? Do you guys have to work together with other organizations when it comes to human trafficking? How does that correlate with what you guys do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, that's a good question, because just recently the Crisis Center has taken on a new initiative. We have a new care coordinator called the Trafficking Prevention Care Coordinator. So, I mean, it is very likely that someone who's experienced, who is a victim of human trafficking, that they have experienced some sort of sexual violence, sexual abuse. And while, we focus primarily as sexual assault victim advocates on the sexual battery, right? We can refer them out to resources more specific to human trafficking, different maybe places for shelter, different, I don't know, maybe they can apply for aid through the state. Maybe we can help them report their experience as a victim of human trafficking. It just depends on the client.
And this may just be lack of knowledge, but I've always, when I hear human trafficking, I associate that with sexual assault. I just associate that with and I might be wrong, but I associate that with women being taken from their homes or cities or even young kids and being whatever that person wants them to be, right? And literally being sold, and which is crazy. You know, human trafficking is a big deal in Tampa. It is huge in Tampa. You said it's a third. Anna says it's the third in the country, and it's right up under. Like, I don't even. Where is it? I mean, in my mind, this is gonna sound ignorant, but this is real. Where is this even happening at? Like, so because and it's sad that we are living here every day, and that Tampa can be the third in the country when it comes to human trafficking. So you already know, like, you guys definitely probably have had experiences or victims of that come through you guys' organization, and I'm happy that you guys are aware that is going on, and now being able to have someone or having a little bit more resources for them internally, you know. So wow. So you said there was so you said those are the 3 campaigns you guys are doing for Awareness Month. So what do you is there anything that you like to do that you're doing that you're pushing or driving to have more awareness to any post you're putting on Facebook? Like, what are you having people share?
Yeah, I think that's my main thing. Like, as my special populations that I work with as a victim advocate are homeless and incarcerated, like survivors of sexual violence. So the Survivor Love Letter Project, like we had been, like us, a few other advocates, and I had been brainstorming it for a while. And I think that's the main thing that I want to like push for, is that like when you see someone in like an orange jumpsuit, right, you just assume that like they have committed a crime.
Something bad.
They've done something bad and they deserve to be where they're at.
Right.
But to have a more trauma-informed perspective on that, many women, a vast majority of women in prisons and jails have experienced sexual violence.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that is a very interesting perspective, because you're right. A lot of people think, oh, because they're in this situation, they did something bad, but that's not always the case. You know what I'm saying? Or things may have led up to that too. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but the girl's name is Centoya Brown. We were just talking about her. She had to serve time in jail because she killed her assailants. So she ain't, you know, that's a different situation. You know what I'm saying? So we may have been in that type of, and there's been times where people, they are so, and they are so, depending on what jail they're, what state they're in, what the laws are in their area, they may have to go to jail and they may have just protected themselves, right? I remember there was a situation in Jacksonville, and y'all, I don't know the name, but the situation in Jacksonville, well, the lady shot a gun in the air because, it was domestic violence. Yeah, it was domestic violence, and she got 20 years. So she didn't deserve that. That was not a, you know, where's the probation in that? She didn't even shoot him. She didn't shoot him. So I mean, you're right. There are situations where people are, men and women, they're maybe in that situation of prison, and then if you look at the nitty gritty, they don't really deserve to be there, right? So I think it is. I commend you on you and the advocates that are working on that, thinking about those people that are in that situation, and even for those that may have done something wrong, maybe they need to serve some time, but that doesn't mean they don't deserve to be thought about. And I think that's kind of what I hear. You're like, listen, we hear you, we see you, we hear you.
Yeah, we acknowledge your humanity.
Yeah,
you're a human being who's experienced trauma. We value and honor that.
That is so awesome. So if people wanted to, if they are a victim and they don't, you know, maybe after listening to the show they realize, hey, I've been a victim of sexual assault. How do they get in contact with you guys?
So the main 2 avenues, right, are our mainline number, and that's 813-264-9961. And then we also have 211, which is our general information and crisis hotline at the crisis center. Well, we, at the 813 number, we work normal business hours. 211 is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So whenever you're experiencing a crisis, maybe it's related to sexual assault, sexual violence, maybe it's not, that's a really good community resource that I encourage you all to reach out to.
So do you guys help people that are like in shelters and stuff like that? Like, how does that work?
So, I mean, we're not a residential facility, but the hope is that, like, if they get paired up with our services, maybe we can call shelters on their behalf. Because you think about, like, unhoused clients, right? Like, if they don't have cell service, if they don't have a phone of their own, we can help call resources for them.
What is the youngest that you guys will work with?
So, yes, the Crisis Center for Sexual Assault Services, we work with 13 people, like victims aged 13 and up, and everyone under that works with Mary Lee's House, and that's the Children's Advocacy Center.
13.
It's rough. It's it's a hard reality to come to terms with, that this is it does happen to people who are young, teenage age.
So what could we do? What could we do to help stop it? As they said in COVID, flatten the curve. What could we do to stop the madness?
I mean, I firmly believe, it's what I tell myself, as an advocate, right, that change begins on a very local and individual level. So if you notice something that enables rape culture, right, if you notice maybe the thing that you were talking about before, someone just grabs someone inappropriately, calling that behavior out, acknowledging that, the small things that we do either contribute to or keep away from or detract from rape culture, right?
And that I don't know if I've ever heard of that, rape culture. But it makes sense. So it's the things that are leading up to rape and the things that we overlook. What are some other things that are probably a part of rape culture? I know you don't have your triangle. That we may say, oh, that's nothing, but it actually is something.
Well, I mean, I think at the top of the triangle, right, that someone's experience of sexual violence, sexual battery, if they've been assaulted, not believing victims, right? We as a culture want to explain it away. Oh, she was dressed a certain way, she was drunk and she was asking for it. She consented to some parts, so she must have consented to all of it, right? I think that's at the very top of the pyramid. But then you go further down, right? And then it's small things, it's small conversation topics, right? That someone, a man who has a lot of sexual partners and does not value the women that he's sleeping with, maybe that's a sign of masculinity, and that's encouraged, right? Or it's a man's a woman's role to sort of obey. It's an issue of power, right? Where if we encourage and affirm a man's position of power over a woman, or just someone's position of authority over a gender minority, these sorts of dynamics, we continually support them, and that's a part of rape culture as well.
Wow. So we need to end rape culture. I don't. Is that a proper way to say that? Is that a campaign in rape culture?
I mean, yeah, through education, through teaching your kids to respect one another, respect one another's right to say no.
And the crazy part is, and I don't know, and I hope we change this, but even with the man and woman thing, we raise our sons to be, for lack of better words, gigolos. We raise our sons, and we raise them to it's okay for you to not necessarily value each woman that you're with, right? And then we raise our women to just accept, oh, he just gonna be a man. That is supporting. That is building up to, really. I feel like it could, based on what you just said, it could aid to that. No, we need to teach these people that's not okay. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, that's very interesting. So if you said what we can do on a day-to-day basis internally is just, if we notice these things that we can switch, calling those people out, and even addressing the people that are the conversations that we're having around us. And I think even what you said about, we blame the victim. I mean, I've done it, and it sucks, because you really don't know. And that's, and I can admit that, because I don't want to be, and that was just my ignorance. And I can't necessarily say it was anything particular that I said, but I know there might have been a situation years ago, and I'm just well, she what? The minute that I say, well, she, you know what I'm saying? I'm already on the wrong side of the fence, because you don't know. And I do want to ask you a question. When you say a person can consent to part of something, but they may not consent to all of it, break that down for me.
So
does that mean I consented to you kissing me, but I didn't consent to you grabbing something inappropriately?
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe, and it could be maybe one sexual act and not the other, right? So maybe someone consented to performing oral sex, but not vaginal penetration, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is okay. Wow.
Just respecting, if someone has said no, if someone shows resistance, not forcing them. Coercion is also not consent. Convincing someone to perform a sexual act is also not consent.
Coercion. Okay, and that's when it gets tricky in a court of law.
Yeah,
Like that's when it's.
But I mean, it doesn't like if we're having open and honest conversations regularly, checking in with like the person that you're with, like your partner, valuing their like body. It doesn't need to be within a court of law, right?
Absolutely,
it can
absolutely.
Just be an honest conversation that one has with another person.
Wow. So yeah, we just need to be honest with ourselves. We need to be honest with ourselves, the people that we with, the people that are around us. Like, let's value those people that we say that we love and that we say that are in our circle, in our village, and change the culture. Because that's that. You really enlighten me, letting me know that the things that we do may aid to that triangle. I don't know why I keep saying that rape culture triangle that she doesn't have here, right? A little pyramid. But if we cannot aid to add to that, I think that is great, right? We'll be right back, y'all, on Trap Talk Radio. Trap Talk.
When it comes to reality radio, everyone is a star.
I know that's right.
On your smooth soul and R&B station.
On the World Wide Web.
Access granted.
In Touch Radio. In Touch Radio, where you can listen to a cruising flow of smooth soul and jazz, today's R&B, a fun touch of hip-hop and gospel.
All my music on one station.
Giving you a buffet of music, news, and entertainment. We're In Touch Radio.
Who doesn't love being number one? When your team's dominating the standings, or your favorite band rocks the charts at number one, it feels good, right? Kind of like how it feels when you have auto insurance with State Farm. Because making you feel like number one is an honor your local State Farm agent takes seriously. Through the good times and not so good, your State Farm agent's proud to be here to help life go right.
Call Herman White at 961-6661. That's 961-6661.
Hey y'all, we're back. Trap Talk Radio. Trap Talk, Trap Music, and Trap Possibilities with Madam CJ. Right here on In Touch Radio, reality radio, where everyone is a star. If you haven't already, call in 813-444-9588. Again, it's 813-444-9588. I have Yesha in the building. Yesha, you said you're from Tampa, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, what's your culture, though? What's your background?
Yes, so my parents are from Gujarat, which is in India.
India. She got this beautiful hair. Y'all know we be wearing this Indian hair. We do. Baby, because I used to wear virgin hair all the time, honey. But you are so gorgeous. I thank you for coming in, Yesha. So, Yesha, you are what you said you're an advocate. Mm-hmm. What is an advocate? Like, and how can we trust an advocate? How do I know?
That's a good question because I mean, you think about like the sort of like questions like what can be used in a court of law, like do I disclose to you can be used in a court of law, and the answer is everything you disclose to me like cannot be. I'm just there to offer any victim of sexual assault, sexual violence, emotional support, just to talk things through. I know that like for our forensic examinations, right, so they occur within 120 hours of a sexual assault because after 120 hours there's probably no longer DNA evidence on like the person. So I mean, our sexual assault nurse examiners, they can be subpoenaed if the court like goes to trial, like the case goes to trial. But everything you say to an advocate, it's confidential, unless of course like it's of course like someone who has been abused as like a minor, or they disclose the intent to harm someone else. But pretty much everything someone says to me is confidential. So as an advocate, I listen to someone, I honor their experience, and I talk them through in an honest conversation what their options are, whether that's reporting to law enforcement and I come with them to that interview, to the detective interview, and to any court hearings, whether it's getting a restraining order, I help them fill that out, place a legal referral, and then come with them to any court hearings, placing referrals to trauma counseling, filling out anything like any like recompensation through the state, any resource that we have available at our disposal. I'm there to help guide the like person I'm with through that.
That is awesome. So you're not just talking to them over the phone. You know what I'm saying? Like you really are trying to walk with them through the process, however long they need you. Now I know you mentioned earlier that if they have been assaulted within 120 days, and that is what, about 4 months?
4 days, 5 days.
You said, I'm sorry, 120 hours. My bad, that day.
Hours.
You said hours. Yeah. So what if it's the 6th day?
If it's the 6th,
how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, So the likely story is that like we probably can't do a forensic exam on someone who's been assaulted like over 120 hours ago. But what we can do is we can still work on like discussing someone's trauma responses, talk them through safety planning, referrals to all of our resources. And if they want to report to law enforcement, they don't need to have received that kit to do so.
Right.
But if they want a restraining order too, that's not something that they need to have received an exam for. And all of our services are free of charge too. So we are a useful resource to anyone who has experienced sexual assault, sexual violence, but just doesn't know what to do next.
Awesome. Okay, so just because it has been over the 120 hours, that doesn't mean they can't get help. You just have to kind of go about it a different way, right? And so if they wanted to contact you, and we hope that no one has to go through this, right? In a perfect world, after today, you wouldn't have any more clients, right? But unfortunately, we're not in a perfect world. So if I needed to contact you or wanted to contact the agency and the organization and someone who could help me, how would I do that? What are all the channels that we can do that?
So, okay, we have our mainline number, which is how you can reach us from like 8 to 6 throughout Monday through Friday. That's 813-264-9961.
Okay.
But of course, if it's after 6 p.m., you can call 211, which is our general information and crisis helpline. And then we also have like an online, on our webpage, you can submit like a request for services in one of our little like comment boxes. But of course, just call our mainline number and 211 in case you can't find that.
Okay. So,
I should know that.
CrisisCenter.com.
That'll be it. Yeah.
CrisisCenter.com. Mm-hmm. And they're located in One Crisis Center Plaza, Tampa, Florida, 33613. Mm-hmm. What is that, off of Fletcher?
Off of Bears.
Bears. Okay, off of Bears. Okay. So, yes, they are here to help you guys. Once again, we don't wish this on anyone, but we have to be honest and transparent and understand that this could happen to anyone. And I'm happy to hear that you guys will help anyone as young as 13. And after 13, you guys have a partnership with someone that you can refer them to. So, like I said, if it's time out for us just brushing this under the rug and ignoring it and not having the conversation about it. Talk to people about it, because there's people out here, there's organizations, people, advocates that will be able to walk you through the process and try to help you heal. Of course, we know that healing is definitely within. We could have 1,000 resources and you still deal with the trauma of something that happens to you. But in order to break through from that and move forward, it's best if you actually have people around you supporting you. So I'm so happy that you've been able to come here today. Thank you to the Crisis Center of Tampa Bay for coming on Trap Talk Radio and having us being able to discuss something that's so serious. So on a lighter note, if you guys are in the Tampa Bay area and you guys want something, can y'all believe we almost in May? We got one more week in April. Oh my gosh, we're almost in May. Oh my goodness. But I mean, time goes on. Time waits for no man. We do have a Painting in the Trap on. We're going to do a Wednesday event. So, like a little wine dine Wednesday. Y'all know that it's our paint party company. So, we're opening back up. So, May the 5th, if you are in Tampa, you can feel free to check out our Painting in the Trap. If you're going to be in the Orlando area, it's going to be April the 30th. Get your tickets now because we are almost sold out. Y'all have anything y'all doing this weekend in particular? What you doing this weekend?
It's my birthday tomorrow. So
it's your birthday! You have a happy birthday?
Yeah, I'm going to have a happy birthday.
I'm asking Anna, does she have a happy birthday? Have a birthday song or something?
Yeah, happy birthday, girl.
I thought you had like a Stevie Wonder or something, girl. So you're going to be what, 25?
22.
22. I'm just playing. You look good though. What are you going to do?
Probably just have a nice dinner with my parents.
Okay. You're not going to party?
No, it's still
COVID. What is that the answer? Why is that the answer to everything? Oh, it's still COVID. Like, oh no, I can't do this. It's COVID. Well, happy birthday. Thank you for coming to hang out with us to start your birthday weekend. And girl, if you drink, take a shot. If you don't, take a shot of water. Okay, do something. Green juice. Green juice, elderberry, whatever. Either way, enjoy your birthday. We thank you guys for tuning in to Trap Talk Radio. We'll see you guys next week. That was cool. Did you?